Chapter 94, Too Proud. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shinji shrugged his shoulders, spread his hands and said, I didn't say that. If that's the case, then I'll practice in another place. He wanted to stay as far away from Tsunade as possible now. If Tsunade has any thoughts about him, he should just pretend to be confused. It is estimated that with Tsunade's level of arrogance, she would not show her cards to him, but there is also a problem, that is, what if Tsunade is impatient and comes directly to A? Thinking of this, Shinji thought that it would be better to have as little contact as possible, especially among other people. Wait, this is not the answer I want. Tsunade shouted in his heart, but the expression on his face remained calm. Move your mouth, yell twice and so on. Shinji stopped and turned around with a puzzled expression. What's wrong? Tsunade gave a sly smile to make her white knee-high socks stand out. She deliberately put her hands behind her back, showing off her slim waist and growing lotus every step of the way. After a while, Tsunade came to Aokiji. The gust of wind blows, and the golden hair dances lightly, and the morning light shines on it, reflecting each other. A flower-like fragrance floated over, tickling the green pheasant's nostrils. Shinji sniffed the faint fragrance and knew that the fragrance was coming from the hair and body of the wonderful person in front of him, resisting. Brother Zhu's urge to sniff his nose. Shinji said calmly, what's the matter? Damn it, he was unmoved. Tsunade pursed her plump lips, took out a scroll from the small bag hanging by her hip and handed it to the other party. What I promised you last time. Thinking of it, Qing Pheasant beamed with joy, took the scroll, thanked him, and couldn't wait to spread it out, wanting to browse it. Okay, Shinji frowned. Why was it different from what he imagined? Isn't that the diamond chain we promised? How did I get a ninjutsu? It was an unknown ninjutsu. You really think I can't read? Before Aokiji's attack, Tsunade took the lead and said, I know what you want to express, but sealing techniques like the diamond chain are not so easy to achieve overnight. Besides, you don't know anything about sealing techniques. Plus, you don't know anything about sealing techniques. You're not even a member of the Uzumaki clan, so if I hand you the ninjutsu of the Vajra chain, you won't be able to understand it at all. This sentence was half true and half false. She directly handed the Vajra chain to Shinji. Then how could she make Shinji notice her goodness in the process, thereby creating a sense of dependence and finally confessing to her? Okay. After listening to her words, Shinji felt that it made sense. Ninjutsu was not just about drawing pots and ladles according to the seals. It involved a lot of knowledge. If he wanted to understand the principle of the diamond chain and integrate it into ice escape, he could only start with the basic sealing technique. You are interested? Shinji said sincerely. No, it's nothing. I didn't do this specifically for you. Tsunade turned her face sideways and spoke lightly, but her heart was filled with ecstasy and she was very seductive. Then please call me Tsunade-sensei twice and listen. Aoki's face was stunned for a moment. Tsunade-sensei. Tsunade pressed her eyebrows, looking fierce and domineering. Why do you have any objections? Qing Pheasant's shoulders trembled, and Ro-Ru just said, it's nothing. Tsunade put one hand on her small waist, stepped out with her legs covered with snow-white knee-high socks, and made a specially concave pose. You think I care less about teaching you? This is just repaying a favor. I am afraid that you will seal the book. You don't understand the technique, so I'm reluctant to teach you. Qing Pheasant muttered, it sounds like you know the sealing technique. Whether it was the original book or now, Tsunade gave him the impression of a girl who was good at fisting. He had never heard of her being able to do sealing techniques or anything like that. Turning a blind eye to the other party's behavior, Tsunade's cheeks bulged slightly. It is true that I don't know how to seal, but don't forget, my grandma is the strongest sealing ninja today. I can teach you about seals through this channel. The knowledge of art, so you understand it. Qing Pheasant clicked his tongue. It's really troublesome. Tsunade curled her lips. You dislike trouble, but I still dislike trouble. If you find it troublesome, I can study it myself. Ah. Are you kidding me? You think the sealing technique is so easy to learn? Do you think you can learn it without anyone showing you the way? If you hadn't saved me, I wouldn't have bothered to teach you. I know, why are you so excited? Aokiji shouted reluctantly, Tsunade-sensei, right. If it weren't for the purpose of improving his strength, he wouldn't be willing to scream. This teacher's voice made Tsunade feel so happy that she suddenly felt elated and couldn't find the north. There was smoke on her face and she lay softly on the ground. Seeing this, Shinji thought something had happened to her suddenly and wanted to step forward and help her up. Snapped. When Tsunade saw the stretched out hand, she panicked and subconsciously slapped it hard. Shinji looked at his red and swollen palms in silence. Tsunade crossed her palms to caress her heart, her two slender eyebrows drooping slightly, showing an expression of remorse. Just now, the other party was just caring about her, but she was so ungrateful. Her lips were slightly opened and her tone was a bit weaker. Are you okay? Aoki shook his head and said with a smile, don't mind, I was just thinking that Tsunade is really strong. I felt like my hand was about to split at that moment. It felt like a female orangutan. Just as he was talking, a fist hit his eyes, and Shinji was caught off guard. Wait, I'll shoot. Before he finished speaking, he jumped into the air and fell backwards. He didn't stop until he hit the rock wall and fell to the ground with a big swollen bump on his head. Damn it, is this how you repay your savior? After giving Ao Pheasant a mouthful of milk using the palm senjutsu, Tsunade pouted and said fiercely, if you dare to call me that again, I guarantee you will not see the sun tomorrow. Stunned by Tsunade's sharp eyes, Aokiji didn't have the guts to say anything and remained silent. After that, Tsunade taught everything Mito learned to Aokiji. Unknowingly, both the sky and the road were dyed with layers of sunset colors. Seeing the sky getting late, Shinji stopped practicing and shouted to the owner of the two legs wearing white knee-high socks dangling on the tree. Said, it's getting late, I have to go back to bed and go to bed. It's over so soon. Sitting in the tree, Tsunade felt that the happy time passed so quickly. Time passes so slowly. It's finally over now. Then you can continue to work hard from now on. Don't, it's embarrassing for me as a teacher. After saying that, Tsunade jumped down from the tree without making a sound on the ground. This showed that her attainments in taijutsu were quite advanced. If Aokiji didn't use Sharingan, she would even be a bit stronger than Aokiji in a pure taijutsu competition. Then I'm leaving. See you. The two of them left each other in opposite directions without any hesitation. The setting sun reflected their stern expressions. However, the moment the expressions of both parties passed each other, they were stunned by each other. Tsunade huffed, feeling confused inside. She's really mad at her. In order to attract the other party's attention, Tsunade dressed up carefully and even put on white silk knee-high socks with lace trim on her legs, just to make Aokiji unable to pull out his eyes and be obsessed with her. Finally confessed to her. As a result, I never expected that Aokiji, a lazy person, showed no performance during the whole process, as if he didn't see anything, just like a blind man. Aren't you an Uchiha? Where are your eyes, your Sharingan? Just say a few words to express your feelings, Hundan, or do you think I have no feminine charm at all? She remembered that Chin Pheasant had liked to tease her for being a tomboy since she was a child. Tsunade touched her barren breasts and fell into depression again. Do you want to be more frank and catch him for advice? As soon as this thought came to her mind, Tsunade shook her head quickly. No, no, no. Doesn't this look like the white stockings I wore specially for him? Besides, he's not anyone like me. Ho ho, it turns out you like me, Tsunade. If you had told me earlier, I wouldn't mind giving you a place among my future wives. When Tsunade thought of this scene, her teeth itched with hatred and she had no intention of intervening, so she had to swallow this defeat. Damn it, Chin Pheasant, why don't you remember that? One day I will let you discover my charm and let you fall under my pomegranate skirt, just like your ancestor, Uchiha Madara lost the battle with my grandfather. In this love confession war, you, the Uchiha, will also lose to me, the Senju. This is fate. Tsunade regained her fighting spirit, her eyes brightened, she cheered up again, and decided to go back and plan her love strategy. On the other side, Shinji's expression seemed stable, but inside he was panicked, and his heart was pounding wildly. Chapter 95 following. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sayu, Tsunade, a guy who only thinks about fists, actually brought out the uniform to seduce, she learned it from there, but that's not the point. The point is that it's too much for his XP. Who can withstand it? Tsunade is rich in gold, has fair skin and beautiful appearance, and the main chest muscles are developed. It can also be used as a facial cleanser to remove mites on the face, remove dirt and oil, and reduce the occurrence of acne. To be honest, seeing Tsunade taking such initiative, Aokiji's heart was moved. As the saying goes, a man chases a woman with a barrier, and a woman chases a man with a veil. How about I obey her? Anyway, I have to chase it sooner or later, so why not start it now? Maybe I can also experience the fun of growing a new cup size. Moreover, Tsunade is still a rich woman. If he obeys her, won't someone have to pay off the debt he owes Elder Itachi? Hey, the corners of Qingji's mouth were so crooked that they almost reached the base of his ears, but, as soon as the thought of torture came up, Qing Pheasant immediately put it to death. Are you kidding me? Go and confess to Tsunade, it will cost you your life. You know, those two people had nothing to do with Tsunade at the beginning, but they disappeared immediately. One was killed by stepping on the detonating talisman, and the other was turned into an idiot. Now I don't know how many grasses have been cut on the grave. If it were him, good guy, he would just omit it and become boyfriend and girlfriend in one step. This result may lead to a more tragic death than the previous two. Qingji decided to continue to pretend to be confused. Oh no, he is too wise to be foolish, and if you think carefully about Tsunade's motivations for her actions, it's really scary to think about it. Probably because she thought it would be embarrassing to confess to herself, Tsunade adopted this strategy. This is understandable. In Tsunade's impression, Aokiji is no better than Jiraiya. It's hard to imagine that Tsunade would take the initiative to say goodbye to someone like him. Tsunade's idea should be to let herself take the initiative to say goodbye to her, and then she reluctantly accepts it. In this way, Tsunade's face is saved, and she can firmly take the initiative in future relationships, so that in the future, if Aokiji had an affair, Tsunade would still have full advantage. For example, the following scream. Tsunade, please listen to my explanation. Ah. You dare to have sex with a mistress. I felt sorry for you, so I reluctantly agreed. I never thought that you dare to eat from the bowl and look into the pot. Bah, you scumbag. Qing Pheasant took a breath. Before, Aokiji didn't confess to Tsunade because he wanted to save his life, but after understanding this, now he doesn't confess to Tsunade and has taken the initiative in the future. It's impossible for me to say goodbye, absolutely impossible. Uchiha Madara lost to your grandfather in the battle, but in this battle of love confession, I will not make the same mistake as Uchiha Madara and lose to you, Senju. The next day, the weather was nice. Aokiji, who was sleeping, was awakened by a noise outside the door. He opened the door with sleepy eyes. What? It turns out to be Jiraiya. What's going on? You forgot, you have to help me find that bastard that Tsunade likes. Jiraiya was angry, looking like he wanted to catch him. Well. Qingji suddenly woke up and forgot about it. You won't forget it, will you? No, I just didn't wake up. That's good. Do you have any specific plans? Jiraiya wiped his nose with his thumb. Of course, after so many years of following me, I know where Tsunade usually likes to go. Hey, this is something to be proud of. This is obviously a perversion. Aokiji complained in his heart that it was understandable that Jiraiya could not catch up with Tsunade and was even disliked by Tsunade. While eating breakfast, Aokiji and Jiraiya discussed the countermeasures. To put it simply, they would still follow. The two of them set up camp in the place where Tsunade usually hangs out. After a while, they locked the target and followed them sneakily with the help of the cover of things. What are you two doing? The two of them, who were feeling guilty, heard someone calling them, and they shivered and got goosebumps. Seeing the handsome face of the visitor, Aokiji and Jiraiya breathed a sigh of relief. So it's you, Orochimaru. Could you not appear suddenly like a snake and scare us to death? Orochimaru smiled slightly. I am a snake. Qing Pheasant said with a smile. That's a fair statement. After being corrected by Aokiji, Orochimaru's character is not as extreme as in the original work, but is similar to that of his future son Mitsuki. Orochimaru asked with great interest. Then can you tell me now, what are you looking at? Jiraiya spat out a name, Tsunade. Tsunade. Orochimaru looked at the two of them alternately with doubtful eyes. He knew that Jiraiya liked to follow Tsunade when he had nothing to do, but why did he even pull Aoki along with him this time? Orochimaru looked at Aokiji with questioning eyes. Shinji smiled and scratched his cheek. How should I put it? Jiraiya pursed his lips and said resentfully, Tsunade had a man outside behind my back. Orochimaru. Shinji shook his head and explained the cause and effect again with a speechless expression. Hearing what he said, Orochimaru was stunned for a moment, remembering the last time Tsunade went to buy books secretly, and informed the two of them. Nani. Jiraiya was shocked. What's the name of the book? Orochimaru recalled, it seems to be called Guide to Love. Jiraiya was heartbroken. He didn't expect that the cabbage he had raised for so long would be poached by others. Moreover, based on Orochimaru's information, it was possible that Tsunade had unrequited love. Jiraiya's teeth were almost sore. Who is the bastard who killed 1,000 swords? He stole Tsunade's heart and let me know that I must kill him. A certain bastard who had killed 1,000 swords patted Jiraiya on the shoulder. Please forgive me. When Jiraiya heard this, he became even more sad. Aokiji was afraid that he would not be able to think clearly, so he carefully tried to test. Well, let me tell you, if Tsunade and that person really love each other, what should you do? What do you think we should do? Jiraiya buried his head and thought about this problem seriously, and a sigh mixed with his voice came out of his mouth. What else can I do? I can only give blessings. I feel relieved when I hear you say that. Aokiji nodded slightly with relief. Jiraiya is usually not a serious person, but sometimes he is quite serious. I will bless that man who steps on the detonating talisman and blows up. King Pheasant. Jiraiya's face was dark, and he smiled evilly. When the time comes, won't my opportunity come? King Pheasant was unable to complain. What kind of blessing is this? I think it is clearly a curse, Orochimaru said abruptly. How long are you two going to talk about? Tsunade is gone. 2 oohs in a row means following immediately. Beverage shop. Tsunade sat on the chair, sipping the pale yellow drink through a straw. This drink is called papaya milk. It is said to have the effects of anti-aging and beautifying, calming the liver and stomach, relaxing muscles, and of course, it also has the effect of breast enlargement. At this moment, she was drinking papaya milk and tapping her fingers back and forth. How to do? I really want to find King Pheasant. What is he doing now? Are you practicing? I really want to know, but she just came to see him yesterday. If she went today, wouldn't it look like she cares about him so much? The book Guide to Love said, there is very little water in love, and it is easy to lose control. If you want to tame your partner, you can't do it too hastily, you have to do it step by step, and you have to keep it fresh, so she can't just run there every 2 days. Tsunade, please be reserved. Just when Tsunade was clenching her fists and giving herself constant inner hints, she suddenly noticed a figure standing opposite her. Tsunade looked stunned for a moment. You are. Opposite her was a boy who was 2 or 3 years older than her. He had blue hair and a warm smile on his face. He looked good, but he was not as good-looking as Shinji. In terms of first impression, he was quite eye-catching. It feels quite reliable, judging from the way he wears a ninja forehead protector. He must be a ninja. There are so many ninjas in Konoha, and even Tsunade, who grew up here, doesn't know many ninjas. My name is Kato-dan. The strange ninja introduced himself. Chapter 96 Kato-dan. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Tsunade nodded politely. What do you want to say to me? Can I call you Tsunade? Can. Tsunade is quite famous in the village. She may not know anyone else, but everyone knows her. Tsunade, are you dating anyone now? Duan's straightforward statement caught Tsunade off guard and stunned her. Hey, no, I'm not dating anyone. Huh, that's great. It seems I have a chance. Kato Satsu showed a hearty smile. Although his speech was abrupt, it was strange that it was not annoying. This must be because he was too straightforward. Tsunade was startled. Opportunity? Is that kind of thing? As if to confirm Tsunade's guess, Kato-dan nodded. You and I hardly know each other, right? Since you told me this kind of thing, then you should have inquired about me to some extent. My temper is so friendly compared to ordinary girls. Seeing that Kato-dan looked quite serious, Tsunade did not get angry immediately. How should I put it? It was love at first sight, but mainly because I saw that you are very serious when you treat patients. I think you are a very serious girl. People around me also say that although you have a different temper than ordinary girls and are more unrestrained, you are actually an Asaisai girl who actively helps others. I want to know you better, Tsunade, so I want to try dating you. Kato-dan has a sister who is 3 years younger than him, who is a classmate with Tsunade. She admires Tsunade very much, and often talks about Tsunade with her. As a result, Kato-dan paid more attention to Tsunade and gradually developed a liking for her. Originally, just because of this, he wouldn't have confessed to Tsunade. Mainly because some time ago, his sister unfortunately died while performing a mission. This caused some major changes in some of his thoughts. Life is as fragile as glass. Maybe he will not die unfortunately one day. In order not to leave any regrets for himself, he decided to muster up the courage to ask someone who was younger than himself. Tsunade confessed to avoid regrets in the future. Jiraiya, Aokiji, and Orochimaru, who were peeping in secret, were all surprised. This man named Kato-dan's understanding of Tsunade is almost correct. As he said, Tsunade looks very violent on the surface, but in fact she is a very gentle and kind-hearted good guy, and she is also very beautiful. If this is the motivation, it almost makes sense, but the question is, where did you come from? Good guy, I didn't find a guy poaching, but I caught a guy who was about to poach. Bah, it's love at first sight. I can see it's just lust. Jiraiya snorted, beast. It's not your turn to say this. Orochimaru and Aokiji cast silent glances at the same time, but then again, is this Kato-dan the one in the original work? Chin Pheasant thought, didn't this guy only confess his love to Tsunade after her brother died? I am afraid that he has not confessed to Tsunade and been rejected in the past, but his strategy is different from Jiraiya's persistent stalking. Instead, he chooses to be patient, wait for the opportunity, and then win in one fell swoop. Just as Aokiji guessed, Tsunade refused without much thought. Facing the passionate confession, Tsunade refused calmly. This was a matter of course. Who would accept a stranger's farewell, let alone that she already had a sweetheart in her heart, and there was no room for anyone else? Kato-dan had already expected this result, and his threshold was very high, so he was not shocked at all. That's what I said. If I had known earlier, it would have been better to start with friends. I'm just impatient. Even if we start as friends, I won't accept your confession. Tsunade specially added in order to make her give up. Like everyone who was rejected, Kato-dan was no exception and asked, why, or do you already have someone you like, such as Aokiji? What? Caught off guard, Tsunade's eyes widened. At the same time, 2 of the 3 people who were watching in secret were staring at someone so hard that their eyes almost popped out. You know me, I am a breast control person. Chin-ji's eyes widened and he shook his head wildly to explain, proving his innocence. He was really possessed. He didn't expect that he would appear in the topic. Damn it, how could this guy Kato-dan know that Tsunade liked him? Jiraiya took a deep breath, forced himself to calm down, and continued to listen to the conversation between the two. Tsunade was surprised and pretended to be calm. Why, you mentioned Aokiji, and do you know him? That's natural. Aokiji is a celebrity in the village. The genius boy of Uchiha. Even though he doesn't have Sharingan, he is the strongest among the younger generation of Uchiha clan. Coupled with his unique personality, not only it would be strange to know him. As for why I think it's Aoki, it's because you two are often together and seem to have a good relationship, so I think so. Tsunade breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that the other party just said casually, if the relationship is good, Jiraiya and Orochimaru can be counted as well. Kato-dan shook his head and said in words of high emotional intelligence, Jiraiya is too extroverted and Orochimaru is too introverted. It seems impossible. Aokiji, who is the middle value between the two, has the greatest possibility. Based on the perspective of probability. Tsunade nodded. If you look at it that way, it does look like that, but I don't like him. And I don't plan to fall in love now. Weird, Tsunade secretly added in her mind. Kato smiled, and said casually, Tsunade, let's play a gamble. Bet? That as soon as she heard about the bet, Tsunade became interested. Well, how about a bet? I bet you will have a boyfriend in the next 6 years. Tsunade made a sound and refused to admit defeat. Just bet, who is afraid of you? She knew that she would lose every bet, so he felt that he was sure to win the bet. What are you gambling? Kato Duan rubbed his chin and said with a smile, well, if I win, how about you becoming friends with me? What if you lost? How about I give you half of the reward for the missions I've done in the past 6 years? Kato Dan felt that he would be qualified for the job of Jonin in a few years, and the rewards for the mission would definitely be greatly increased by then. There was only an upright father left in the family, and he had nowhere to spend money. Tsunade was stunned. Is it that simple? Well, it's that simple. Tsunade didn't understand and asked, why 6 years, and why are we friends? Kato Dan explained one by one. First of all, as to why it is 6 years, it is because we are both adults and our 3 views have matured. Secondly, as to why we are friends, the prerequisite for falling in love is to start from being friends. Tsunade, I don't understand, since you're not sure about giving up yet, why are you betting that I'll have a boyfriend within 6 years? Kato smiled and said, because the person I'm betting on is myself. Tsunade was speechless. This guy's wishful thinking was really clinking, but she didn't hate it. It's not that she has a good impression of Kato Dan, but because of Kato Dan's appearance, she found that she seemed to be quite attractive, and felt that she was okay again. Ching Pheasant must have seen it. This girl is still very marketable. Be careful, if it's too late, I'll run away with someone else. Just when Tsunade was secretly rejoicing that she had a market, a familiar and irritable voice came from not far away. Hey, don't come up here, you guy. What else are you planning to do with Tsunade? When? Chapter 97. I'm so handsome, why didn't I know? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tsunade was stunned for a moment, then turned around and saw a white-haired boy coming angrily, and there were 2 boys beside him who couldn't hold him back no matter how hard they pulled him. They were Orochimaru and Aokiji. Jiraiya, calm down. Jiraiya roared angrily, calm down, my heart is so damn cold, and I'm still so calm. Kato Dan was stunned for a moment when he saw the 3 of them. Why are you here? Tsunade said in surprise. The 3 of them were silent. It couldn't be said that they were following Tsunade. They were afraid of being beaten if they told her. The short-sighted Kato Dan joked, it seems that your friend may have been eavesdropping on our conversation just now. Tsunade's face sank, her eyes scanned the 3 of them, and finally settled on Jiraiya. She knew that this bad idea must have come from Jiraiya, and she knew it all too well. Then let's talk, I won't stay here anymore. Kato Dan realized that if he continued to stay here, he would risk becoming a light bulb, so he simply left wisely. The impression has been planted, and I will slowly wait for the opportunity in the future. Jiraiya stared fiercely at Kato and left. Tsunade blocked Jiraiya's sight and said coldly, tell me, why are you following us and even bringing? Having said this, Tsunade couldn't help but glance at Aokiji, and softly called out his name, as well as Orochimaru beside him. Jiraiya turned his face sideways and whistled twice, indicating that he didn't know anything. Oh, why don't you say so? Tsunade clasped her fists and moved her knuckles, making a crackling sound. Her body exuded murderous aura, and her eyes were flashing. Jiraiya instantly gave up and knelt down. He honestly told everything about himself, and by the way, he also sold everything about Orochimaru. You idiot, I told you, that's a friend, not me. Tsunade cursed and glanced at someone with vague eyes. When she saw that he had no reaction, she was secretly relieved. At the same time, she felt resentful in her heart. I've been confessed to, why are you guys not in a hurry? Aren't you afraid that I will run away with someone else? Hateful, but it doesn't matter, the book Guide to Love says it. This is called not getting what is good. The book gives a clear example. For example, the sense of accomplishment your parents give you is completely different from the sense of accomplishment you get from the casino. Even if she worked hard to win one tael in the casino, the pleasure she would get would be more pleasurable than if someone directly gave her 10,000 taels. The same goes for the relationship between men and women in the app. They should start to be a little colder, because in this way, the love will become extremely passionate later. The principle is somewhat similar to suppressing first and then increasing. Tsunade knows this very well. Maybe it was because I had no feelings for Aokiji before, but when I really fell in love with him, I became hopeless. Moreover, this kind of action has another advantage: it will create a sense of anticipation, looking forward to what kind of behavior the other party will make. After conquering the originally cold object, on the contrary, those who came up very enthusiastic, it is hard to imagine how intense the enthusiasm will be after the two get tired of being together. Because I received so much love at the beginning, I had no sense of expectation. Here, Jiraiya is criticized by name. It was so scorching hot when we first came up. It's hard to imagine how intense it would be later on, uninteresting. Therefore, a performance like Aokiji's was exactly what Tsunade wanted. To him, the more he doesn't care about her, the more Tsunade likes her, and the more he looks forward to Aokiji's confession in the future. All in all, just one word, like .at this time, Shinji didn't know what to say, so he chose to shut up. Silence is golden. Jiraiya expressed disbelief. You said you want to protect your friend's privacy, so let me try another way. You should have seen that man. Tsunade said guiltily, of course. Jiraiya was unyielding and vowed to find out, even if he was beaten violently by Tsunade. Well, you can introduce that man to us. In this way, I will believe you. Shinji's fingers trembled slightly. He felt guilty. Fortunately, everyone's attention was on Jiraiya and Tsunade at this time, and they didn't notice anything unusual about him. Tsunade hummed, "Why, I have to explain it to you. If you don't explain, it means you have a guilty conscience. That means you have a sweetheart." Tsunade secretly smacked her tongue. If she didn't give an explanation, she felt that Jiraiya would continue to pester her in the future. It would be embarrassing if she found out that she liked Aokiji. He is not from this village. Tsunade withdrew her lie. Jiraiya said he would not be fooled so easily and asked, "What does he look like?" Tsunade was stunned. If he said he hadn't seen it, he must have felt that he was lying to himself. Answer quickly, Jiraiya urged, not giving Tsunade time to react. Whenever Tsunade hesitated, it meant that she was not trustworthy. What's the rush? I'm not organizing language. Tsunade considered her words. Her lover is white and red, and stands above all others. His head is like the finest gold. His hair was thick and hanging, black as a raven. His eyes are like the eyes of doves by the streams, washed with milk and made fit. His cheeks are like a border of fragrant flowers, like a platform of fragrant herbs. His lips are like lilies, dripping with myrrh. His hands are like golden tubes inlaid with beryl. Bible Song of Songs, not to mention Jiraiya being dumbfounded. Aokiji himself was dumbfounded after hearing this. Is there any mistake? What the hell is this me? Tsunade, do you think too highly of me? And you also wrote a poem for me. Alas, the charm of this sin. But then again, Tsunade's arrogant look is really cute. Who can resist such a woman? Shinji's mentality suddenly jumped twice, but fortunately he tried his best to conceal it, so it was not seen. Damn, this is a heartwarming feeling. It's a lie. How can such a person exist? Although Jiraiya didn't understand, he exclaimed, and why did you describe it so neatly? It's like it was prepared in advance. If you don't believe it, I'll throw you away. My friend told me this. I just copied it and read it out. Tsunade looked into Jiraiya's eyes, moved slightly, and glanced at someone. If there is nothing else, I will leave first. As a companion, I advise you, don't think about it all day long. You're just a piece of trash. You might as well go train when you have time, otherwise you won't even know if you step on the detonating talisman and die. Tsunade, wait. Tsunade ignored her and quickly left and returned home, until her suppressed emotions burst out, and Xia Fei's cheeks were steaming like boiling crabs. I'm going to die, I'm going to die. She actually recited the poem that was imitated according to the poet's format in front of him, and it was in front of Qing Pheasant. Fortunately, Aokiji himself didn't know. If he knows, that doesn't mean he likes Qing Pheasant very much. If she is even willing to write poems for him, then she will always be manipulated by this guy Chin Pheasant. She also knew that she looked strange like this. But she couldn't help but pay attention to which damn man she liked. Tsunade washed her face twice to calm her fevered brain, and then she opened the love guide to find a plan for reference. A few pages later, she saw a line of text, keywords, birthday. Tsunade's eyebrows twitched and she nodded in agreement. As an important day in a person's life, birthday is indeed a relatively important day. If the gift is good, maybe the blue pheasants can be sent away in a wave. She has known Qin Ji for so long, but she has never seen him celebrate his birthday. If she gave him a birthday gift, Qin Ji would be so moved that he would confess to her. With this in mind, Tsunade randomly started looking at birthday gifts, and many more. Tsunade put her head in her hands and suddenly realized that she knew nothing about Aokiji. Not even her date of birth. How about giving birthday gifts then? Want to ask? As soon as this idea came up, Tsunade quickly rejected it. In this case, wouldn't it seem too deliberate? When it comes to giving birthday gifts, it's best to give them inadvertently. Tsunade pondered for a moment and said to herself, in short, let's find out Aokiji's birthday first. P.S. Make up for the day before yesterday.